What's up everybody, this is Tucker from MACkiteboarding, and today I'm bringing you a hot new Parawing review and overview here. And I know this is a hot one, so we got to you as quickly as we could. So thank you F-One for getting us a Parawing for the Quest ahead of time, so we have proper time to test it, get familiar with it, and bring you a review right at launch, so you don't need to buy in blind. You can have an honest review and a good idea of what this wing is for before you put your cash down. So what do we have here? This is the F-One Quest. I've been testing the 3.5 meter size, which is a really fun size in this particular model. We've got the wing here. This is a new model for F-One. It is not replacing the Frigate, which has been a favorite of ours for the past year or so. This is coming in alongside the Frigate for a different kind of experience, a different sort of performance, we'll say. And really the way they've aimed the Quest is just a wing that's very easy to use, very user-friendly, beginner-friendly, definitely one of the best wings out there in terms of stashability, simplicity. So less is more when it comes to the Quest. As compared to the Frigate, it's not going to have quite as much upwind ability, they say. We'll get into that more here in the review section. It does have a bit more of a downwind pull, a bit more grunt on the low end as compared to the Frigate. It sits a little deeper in the window. It does have a bit more of a balanced feel at the bar, a little less technical to fly, I would say. So just overall, very easy to use, confidence-inspiring wing, which I think is where we're at for a lot of riders out there. If you're new to the sport, a wing like this can make your life a lot easier. And then also, if you're really familiar with the sport, you're at a high level of riding, you can drive the wing upwind harder. You can, pick the right size and do what you need to do. But really, the stashability and the redeploy and how consistent and fail-proof that is a big part of the riding experience, because it's great if you can dart upwind, and it's great if you have this real wide range, and in certain conditions it's more important than others, of course. But at the end of the day, it's all about riding, stowing, deploying, and the more you can do that without messing up or having difficulties, the more enjoyable the experience is, and the more you can focus on your riding and what the waves are doing. So yeah, let me give you a quick walkthrough here on the Quest. First up, we'll start with the bar. There's some exciting things going on here, and then we can just kind of move through to the canopy as we go up. First off, as with all of F-One wings, it includes a harness line. This is a fixed style harness line, single loop. It's about 25 centimeters in length, so a little short for some of our bigger riders. I'm not entirely sure if the loop gets larger for the larger models like the 6 meter or not, but for me, I would prefer a little bit longer loop on the larger models. For the 3.5, this works just great for me, even the 4. But for a 5 and 6 meter, I would like a little bit more reach, a little bit longer effective line length, just to get that out there a little bit more. But, I'm 6'3", I've got a bit more span than other people too. So I get why, 25 centimeter might be kind of standard, especially for the smaller wings. One small detail on this harness line, it might look at first glance like the same as the Frigate. It is not. One thing I really like that they did on this, is a small detail, but it matters, is they've gone with a very flat lying nylon for this attachment here. So if you look at how it connects to the bar and tightens up, there's no huge bump on that. So when your hand is on top of it, like a lot of time it is, you don't have this big knot underneath your palm right there. Additionally, it doesn't have the Velcro strap holding here. It's just looped through on there. It holds tight very well, but it's also easily moved if you find during your session, the wind comes up or down, you want to change that a little bit. Very easy to do, and it just really reduces that bulk on the sectional wing that you're holding onto. So you get a more direct connection to the bar and don't have as many issues with that kind of getting in the way and interfering with your grip. So huge fan of the upgrades here. It's a small detail, but it really improves your experience. Getting into the bar, again, You know, at first glance, the color coding, this end kind of looks the same as the Frigate. It's not. Look at this end where all the fun stuff is happening for the new design on the Quest. We've got a few things. Number one, the front end of the bar has what I like to call a knob or an extension above the A-line. So that really gives you a nice place to hold the wing, and it's balanced in your grip. You don't need to hold it back here and then kink your wrist and force it to kind of fly forward if you're riding upwind, or if you're just hauling it around on the beach or just holding it. A lot of times you're in that kind of neutral position with more A-line pressure. So whereas a lot of other wings, you got to kind of force it and do that and kink your wrist, and a lot of times you're gripping the bar a lot harder to make that happen and hold your hand right there. They do it really easy. It balances perfectly. You can just kind of lightly fingertip hold it, and you got this little lever here that just makes it so nice. And then also bending up like this, it makes it so if the lines get stuck on there, it falls off. So that's a big thing. You don't want the lines getting hooked here. Some of the straighter bars that have that knob, you know, you can get an issue where it'll kind of do that. And I guess if you really try to, you probably still could, but being bent off like that, it does just shed off the end of the tip very easily, reducing tangles, making your life a lot easier. On the end here, it does have a nice pad, so you don't bonk yourself or your board with it. When you're getting up, a lot of times you're kind of holding it like this on your board, at least I am. So this bumper keeps it from damaging your board or yourself, I suppose, if you manage to kind of bonk yourself somehow. But really nicely thought through, very clean here with the connections. They're not just tied to the bar. They actually go through the bar. And then as you can see here, we have this A-line connection here with a molded plastic piece. So that does a couple of things. Number one, it keeps your finger from getting pinched or stuck in by this rope or causing chafe and premature wear on that rope, which is really important. The other thing it does is it just gives you a nice leverage over those A-lines. You know, if you're really reefing it and depowering hard, driving upwind, or just standing on the beach with the wing above your head or whatever, that just gives you a little extra travel in that bar depower, so to speak. That just, you know, it's the little things that just make it feel so polished and so comfortable to fly. Little things that annoy you on other bars, you know, just aren't there. And you don't think about that, I guess, unless you're coming off of another bar or you're going back and forth. Then you're like, oh man, I really miss that, you know, kind of comfort, thoughtful design on the F1 here for the Quest. Next, we're going into our pigtails and bridles. They are really nicely, thoughtfully laid out here. You'll notice we only have two, an A and a B. There's no C line, there's no D line, there is no, what do I want to call it, yoke on this, like a lot of wings have nowadays. So this is totally free to move your hand about, to put both hands wherever you want them. If you're really powered up driving upwind, I'm just loving this stance here. And it's just so comfortable, so light on your fingers and easy to adjust without kinking your wrist. You're just push and pull with your hands. The connection into this is a soft shackle, and it's covered with this neoprene sleeve so it doesn't get tangled or chafed, etc. And it just looks really clean. It feels really good on your hands when you're sliding through, if you do start that early. And a lot of times you won't, and I'll tell you about that here in a second. I fix this. Okay. So, B-lines. See, there are only 4 of these coming off. Very simple, very lightweight, low bulk, low tangle. Coming off of the front, we have 5 of the orange. And if you guys can see this, one, or against my shirt, I guess you can probably see it better. One initial bridle line that's white. So this is special. And I would say the only other wing I've seen that has something similar to this is the Ozone Power Pack, which has been a favorite of mine over the winter. What these do is it separates your A-lines and gives you kind of a front center A-line reference so that when you pack this up, more often than not, you're just going to use these white front lines here. So rather than grabbing them all like a lot of wings here, and you can do that, of course, if you're looking to pack it down a bit more completely to stow away, we'll say. But I would advocate that these white lines are what you want. And I think that's the intention with the different color coding as well from F1. So when you pull these down, this is like the equivalent of doing, like you've heard, a 4-ace pack down method, or if you see people not packing all of the A's, this is what they're doing. They're grabbing the front center section so that really packs down cleanly and flags out nicely in the wind. So if you're riding around, carving around, doing quick redeploys, not stashing it away, that's a great way to hold it. And it redeploys almost 100% perfect every time, coming from there, in my experience. Just totally mindless. You just, bam, pack it up, ride around, throw it back out. It redeploys perfectly. If you are stowing, you may want to go from this as well, depending on your stow method. But what that does is it packs down the center. It concertinas perfectly into a little ball in the center. And then you have our ears of the wing, we'll say, the ends of the wings, the wingtips, still out there so that they can kind of be packed in around the bridles so they're not tangling around each other. You're kind of packing up, wrapping up those bridles on the inside of the canopy when you do that. And then when you put it away, again, you're going to drop it out, grab this white line, concertina in your hand, give it a shake, throw it back out. And man, it's like 100% redeploy on this thing. So easy, so simple, especially with the different color coding and the way they've designed the bridle to pack down off this white line. It's just super special. Let me show you guys, I guess, off this, what that kind of looks like. So you're riding along, carve downwind, you're going to pack it up, and you can see how nicely that wads into my hand. There's zero room there. There's no space for the wind to get up under there and yank you around. This thing is just a flag in the wind at this point. All the bridles fall nicely. You'll see the ears here. So easy to wrap around and isolate those bridles before you're packing it up. You throw it back out, grab that white line again, and now you're ready to bang, redeploy, throw it out there. All the bridles are so nicely organized off that. Very simple. No bridles here that you don't need. Nothing extra that's going to get tangled. As you can tell, this is a 3.5. I mean, I'm not anywhere near my full span. A lot of wings, I would have to be, all the way out here to get a full tie-in. I'm nowhere near that. I would call this maybe 4 feet to fully concertina it all the way to the bar, and just crazy, crazy good at that stow and redeploy here. So moving on to the wing here, or I guess I should say the bridles first. Bridles on this are very fine. They're kind of medium stiff, just enough so they don't loop around themselves and get tangled. They are, bridles that have knot connections. They're not spliced in. They're not a direct connection. So it's not quite as silky smooth if you're, stowing from the B's and the A's. I don't really see a reason to do that with this wing, especially with the way I stow and deploy in my sequence for that. The white line is your saving grace. This thing is the simplest, easiest, most foolproof way to stow and redeploy. And this wing packs down so small and so tight and easy that for me, there's really no other way to do that. And maybe on the big one, on the 6, that would require a different kind of packing method. I don't know yet. I haven't tried it, but just thinking through that. Getting into the canopy, it is extremely lightweight, super, super minimalist material, but also tough. This is your paragliding type material. So super light. It packs down really nice and tiny. You'll see on this wing, it's, again, simple. Simple is better. So you're not going to find any extra ribs or any extra battens or anything in the trailing edge. The only ribs you're finding on this thing with stiffening battens are right here in the leading edge. And as you saw when we concertinaed that off the white line, they just pack right up into a tiny little wad when you're doing that. So it's nice to not have any additional stuff that adds bulk that adds stiffness, that won't let you fold in a certain way that you want to, or that could potentially get bent or miswarped in the packing process, is just, this front section that you got to worry about. They are really nicely put in here. These kind of C-shaped ribs with airflow pockets in between, you'll see. So that really equalizes the pressure over the wing and helps it be balanced and stable. Coming to the wingtip. The wingtip on this guy is very square as compared to some other wings. It really helps build a lot of grunt for its size, I would say, since you have so much just wing creating that lift and force and yank. Because of that, though, it does sometimes warp in a little bit because it is so square. I say, I've noticed it in lighter conditions where I'm pumping it, and you can sometimes get those ears to deform in and be a little bit finicky. But in the high end as well, if you're really forcing this wing to go hard into the wind, pushing it maybe harder than you should upwind with a lot of power, those ears will sometimes get a little bit like they want to collapse in a little, which isn't necessarily always a bad thing. It can help kill some of the power if you're riding overpowered and just getting lit out of your mind. But I would say, for most people, if you want to ride more powered up, more speedy, harder upwind, almost like you're racing, you're better off with the Frigate for that, because the Frigate is so good in those type of conditions where you're riding really powered, where you're driving hard upwind. That wing is unshakable. It's near perfect. Whereas the Quest is more of a moderate powered kind of mentality, I would say, more of a downwind mentality where, this wing goes upwind great, goes upwind better than 90% of the wings on the market. But as compared to the Frigate, it just doesn't have that same pedigree, that same upwind ability. But on the flip side, you do get more of that downwind pull, that more grunt. If you're going downwind with waves, your board angle is going to be better with the waves. Sometimes you get a really good upwind wing and you're riding waves downwind, trying to get that power from the wing, and the wing will push you downwind and it just backstalls your wing because you're killing all the apparent wind through the sail. The Quest is definitely better in that regard. It does take off downwind at a higher angle than the Frigate, which wants to drive more upwind or perpendicular to the wind to build that apparent wind speed. This one is happy to yank you downwind. And then also that in conjunction with this bar setup and bridle setup is very user-friendly because it's got a big range of sail angle that you can use. So if you're not perfect in your sheeting and that bar angle is just a little off of what's perfect, it's still going to give you a good power. It's still going to continue to fly rather than back stalling or front stalling. Much less technical wing to fly as compared to, say, the Frigate, I would say. So for newer riders, for anybody looking for just a simple pull and go, a very easy, non-finicky, non-technical wing for stowing, redeploying, and you're like, yeah, I'm not going to ride overpowered. I don't need to ride a 600 foil and a 40-liter board. I want to ride a bigger board, a bigger foil, and I want to cruise and not have so much bar pressure in my arms. This is the one you want for that. On that note, the bar pressure is quite light. I attribute that to the design of the whole thing, but the bar itself, I think, just makes the bar pressure feel that much more light and balanced because the angle of the bar is so nice. The setup of, where you can place your hands, the diameter of this bar is really comfortable and small. So it's just a bar you don't need to death grip, and that just feels so much lighter in your hands and more nimble and easy to fly. In terms of the stability, I would say the Quest is rather stable for its size. As compared to the Frigate, which is a race car, it wants to go wherever you want to put it. And that's great for an experienced rider, a technical rider. But if you're just looking to get up and cruise and have something that's easy without having to think about it, the Quest is better for that. I would say it's more stable. That's not to say that it can't turn on a dime and you can't, do down loop transitions and things like that, because you certainly can. It's just going to require a bit more intentional input and not just a little. It's going to want, a more intentional go here, go there. So I think for most people, that's a positive thing. But if you're a freak, you're out there doing kite loops and Ninja Donatello moves, going crazy, Frigate's probably the right wing for you. Now, what does this come with? As I mentioned, it comes with your bar. It comes with your loop. It does come with a stash sack. I am not familiar with what that looks like, if it'll be the same as the Frigate or not. This one here is a pre-production sample. So it just came, in a vanilla bag that I think is just, whatever. It's not really indicative of what they're going to deliver with. But if you look in our website at the time of the launch, which should be the time this video comes out, we should have details on the bag for you there. I anticipate it will be a stuff style bag that you can use to keep everything tidy, but also very lightweight if you want to stuff it in a backpack for a downwinder and keep it organized and not tangling with other wings and radios and phones and keys or whatever else you have in there. That should keep it tidy and compressed, but we'll have more details for that on the future. So what do I like about this wing? What do I dislike? To recap here, I love the simplicity of this wing. I love how easy it is to fly. The grunt on it just to get up and foil, because let's face it, parawing, it's not always easy to get on foil. If you're not on foil, you're not having a good time, no matter how good the upwind angle is. So I really like this wing for that. I would say for me, this is a top choice for me in a wing for parawinging because of how reliable the wing is in the stow and redeploy. That's a huge thing for me, especially in bigger, nastier conditions. I don't want to get caught on the inside. I don't want to get tumbled through the surf. I'm stupid and make those decisions to go in there. So I want a wing that's going to support me and hopefully get me out of the bad situations I put myself into. And that means a wing that stows and redeploys easily, quickly, and reliably. That is exactly what the Quest does. I would put this wing right alongside the Power Pack from Ozone, which has been one of my favorite wings for that. In terms of comparison between the two, that's a really tough call. They're both fantastic. I would say the Quest is a little bit more stable. I would say the Power Pack has a little bit more total range of the wing because of the way it behaves when it starts to get overpowered. But if you can overlook that, they're both used quite interchangeably. You wouldn't need to buy both in the same size for your quiver. You'd pick one or the other. Both very excellent wings for the downwind application, for that stow and redeploy, especially for a person that's looping the same sections over and over, and you're stowing and redeploying every 30 seconds. This is the type of wing you want for that, and it will do well for you. What do I not like about this wing, or what would I change? It's a hard thing to say. I think they've ticked a lot of boxes. I think always with F1, they're really good at addressing problems that you don't know you have and providing solutions for things that just make your life easier. Their R&D team is one of the best, in my opinion, and they've really hit it out of the park. You can tell they've done a lot of research. They've done a lot of fine-tuning of this wing. I would say for me personally, I guess, if I had to change something about this wing, it would be that the price would come down. Something we can always wish for, I think. But being that this wing is more simple than the Frigate, but also a similar price, I think it'd be nice so it wouldn't hurt your pocketbook quite as much. But also, would I accept a compromise in a heavier weight material or something that was less packable, or maybe a more simple bar than this that would drive the price down? No, I'll happily pay the extra couple $100 to get those features. So I don't know. I guess maybe the price is right. Who knows? But yeah, so this has been the Quest from F1. Really stoked on this wing this year. I'll probably be riding it a lot myself, and really can't wait to get on the bigger sizes, because coming into spring and the summertime here, a lot of times we're on those lighter days, cold water, warm air. There's not a lot of wind on the water. So having a bit more grunt, a bit bigger wing, but one that also packs down nice, is the key, I think, for this season. So if you're watching this, F1 guys, get me a 6-meter ASAP. Otherwise, I'll have to wait like everybody else and get my hands on it when I can. This has been Tucker with MACkiteboarding. If you have any questions, comments, reach out to us. Put a comment in the comment section below. Don't forget to subscribe to see more of these awesome videos and support our shop. And we'll see you next time. Good job.